Hey everyone, Film Bird here. I just saw ANORA this past weekend, the new film by director Sean Baker, and I have a lot of thoughts to share. I'm going to talk about the film broadly without any major spoilers. I will only touch upon some of the general plot points that are featured in the trailers. I'll give a clear warning before I jump into spoiler territory, so don't worry. This movie has been getting a lot of hype lately, as it recently won the Palme d'Or at the Cannes Film Festival this year, which is the highest prize awarded to a director. It's finally making its stateside release, and I was fortunate enough to see one of the first screenings in my city on 35mm. Well, does this movie live up to the hype? Is Mikey Madison's portrayal of a sex worker as good as everyone says it is? Well, let's find out.
Yo.
You don't have cash? Let's go to the ATM. We could go chill out in a private room.
I got a kid who wants someone who speaks Russian.
My Russian is terrible. I can't even roll my R's.
No.
Я просто хотел тебе предложить. Ты хочешь быть эксклюзивно со мной?
15. Cash up front.
Deal.
Deal.
ANORA is the immersive new film from writer-director Sean Baker, who is known for his humanistic, character-driven films about people living on the margins of society. This film builds on the kinetic energy that propelled his earlier films like Red Rocket and Tangerine, while incorporating the emotional resonance of 2017's The Florida Project.
Everybody.
She's about to cry. I can always tell when adults are about to cry. Why is my mom yelling?
Just talking, they gotta figure something out.
With ANORA, he proves again why he is one of the most important voices in contemporary cinema. The film weaves an intricate narrative that proves wildly entertaining and deeply affecting, anchored by Mikey Madison's stellar performance and Sean Baker's masterful direction. Through its dynamic storytelling, Baker thoughtfully illuminates the human experience of sex work without judgment, while exploring broader themes of class disparity and the enticing illusion of the American dream. Baker's signature empathetic lens transforms what could have been merely provocative material into something far more nuanced and compelling, making a powerful case for the destigmatization and decriminalization of sex work. Madison stars as ANORA, or Annie as she prefers, who is an ambitious, strong-willed 23-year-old Russian-American sex worker living in Brighton Beach. The film's opening sequences offer an intimate glimpse into her nightly routine, the demanding and exhausting emotional labor of flirting with clients and performing lap dances, all while maintaining her own boundaries and dignity. Baker's careful direction and Madison's nuanced performance humanizes Annie without sentimentality, allowing us to see this mostly unseen world through her unique perspective. By the time her life takes its unexpected turn, we are already deeply invested in her journey. Her world shifts dramatically when she meets Ivan, or Vanya as he is often called, who is the wayward son of a Russian oligarch that presents Annie with an enticing opportunity for prosperity. What begins as a transactional encounter evolves into an arrangement where Vanya, flush with seemingly endless cash, pays her to be his girlfriend for a week. Despite his charm, Vanya is fundamentally immature, a man-child indulging in an endless feast of video games, alcohol, drugs, and sex. What starts as a seemingly conventional narrative reminiscent of Pretty Woman takes an unexpected turn when Vanya whisks Annie and their friends away to Las Vegas for a drug-fueled bender. In this heightened state, they appear to fall in love, though notably we never hear Annie say those words, or at least that I can recall, culminating in a stereotypical Vegas Whitechapel wedding. Baker masterfully subverts audience expectations by pivoting to a second act that morphs from romantic comedy to an intense, frenetic drama with elements of slapstick comedy. The catalyst for this conflict comes when Vanya's parents, who are extremely wealthy, learn about their son's sudden marriage. To them, this is a social catastrophe, and dispatch their brutish henchmen to handle the situation. Annie's profession makes her an unacceptable match for their son's social strata, regardless of her character or the couple's feelings. The Armenian henchmen arrive unannounced, aiming to annul the marriage, sparking a chaotic series of confrontations and one hilarious goose chase. Annie, being headstrong, is determined to convince them that they are in love and that she is rightfully Vanya's wife. The scenes are filled with shouting, overlapping dialogue, and frantic exchanges that recalls the nervous energy of Uncut Gems and the sharp social commentary of Baker's previous film, Red Rocket. It creates a tense yet darkly funny atmosphere.
It's a fraud marriage, and we're getting in an old ASAP.
You go fuck yourself!
Me go fuck myself, me fuck myself, you go fuck yourself and your fucking mother, motherfucker!
Amid this chaos, Yura Borisov delivers a standout performance as Igor, one of the henchmen whose subtle, sympathetic presence offers a counterpoint to the mayhem unfolding before him. Mikey Madison's performance is pure cinema, strong, magnetic, and utterly captivating. From her first moment on screen, she becomes the bright light that you follow to the very end. Madison commands attention with her expressive eyes alone, which are at once innocent and doe-like, while also being intense and alluring. Yet at times her vulnerability subtly breaks through, adding complexity to her powerful presence. This role demands so much of her, from nude scenes to physical struggles to moments that require a nuanced emotional range. Strikingly, when her character appears most vulnerable and exposed, she is also the most clothed. It's a bold and revelatory star-making performance that deserves every bit of praise it's receiving. Baker's direction is masterful and assured, crafting a film that is visually striking. Shot on 35mm film, the natural grain and warm tones bring a richness to every frame, particularly enhancing the intimacy of the dramatic sequences. The cinematography moves with remarkable fluidity, floating through the neon-drenched nightlife of Brighton Beach clubs and the glossy excess of Las Vegas, with an observant, almost documentary-like intimacy. Yet Baker knows precisely when to shift gears, transitioning from kinetic movement to carefully composed static shots that hold on its characters' faces during crucial emotional moments. The film's visual palette evolves purposefully with its narrative. From the warm pink glow of earlier scenes to the pale blues of the stark, windswept boardwalk in winter. These later sequences of a desolate Coney Island prove especially powerful as it matches the bleakness of the situation at hand. I saw ANORA at a sold-out screening on opening night. As the screen faded to black, there was a deafening silence. As the credits rolled without music, the audience sat paralyzed by the emotional weight of what we had all collectively witnessed. I wasn't moved to tears, but rather in a more visceral way that manifested in a profound, overwhelming sadness. Afterward, it took me hours to shake it, as my mind carefully contemplated the deeper meanings of connection, class, and the cost of the American dream. This is cinema that matters. ANORA is at once funny, profound, and deeply human, delivering its insights without preaching or moral judgment of its characters. This is why I go to the movies, to feel deeply, to laugh genuinely, to think critically, and to be thoroughly entertained. In a landscape often dominated by formulaic storytelling, ANORA stands as a reminder of cinema's unique power to surprise, delight, and move us, offering an intimate window into lives and experiences rarely seen with such clarity and compassion on screen. All right, let's talk spoilers. If you haven't seen this movie yet, please go see it. I think most movies are best going in blind, but this one especially has a lot of twists and turns to the narrative, and you want to be surprised for this one for sure. This movie has a lot of strong themes, and I think the beauty of it is that it doesn't spoon feed you them. It doesn't put them front and center. It's really subtle, but they are there nevertheless if you're looking for them. Yeah, I think at the core of this movie is the theme of human connection, and that is the one theme that really resonated with me too. You know, not just physical, but human connection and emotional connection, and how we really need it as humans. But we also fake it, we monetize it, and ultimately it's something that maybe we're not so good at these days in a world we think we're super connected, and we are digitally and in other ways, but I think emotionally we are extremely distant from one another, from our neighbors. So yeah, that's a theme that really resonated with me. All right, let's talk about the final moment. I have been thinking about this moment since I've seen the movie, which was, I think, almost a week ago, and it still has stuck with me. So I just want to talk about it and share my thoughts. I want to hear what you think about it, your interpretation of it, because it is pretty open-ended. This final moment, I think, is really beautiful. It's intimate, it's poignant, it's uncomfortable, and it's heartbreaking. Igor takes Annie's luggage out of the back of the car, and he brings it to the front of our front door, and leaves it there, you know, like a gentleman. And then Annie's still in the car, and he gets back in the car, which is this, you know, kind of old, shoddy sedan that is actually his grandmother's, which I thought was pretty funny. And they are sitting in this car, and the snow is falling down around them, on the windows of the car. And the inside is really naturally lit, dimly lit. And the camera just kind of cuts back to Annie's face and to Igor's face. And there's some silence there, and Igor pulls from his pocket the 4-carat diamond ring that Vanya had gotten for their marriage, and he offers it to her. And then again, she's just disarmed by this gesture, that he thought of her, that he somehow pickpocketed this from Toros, and was willing to just give it to her, kind of as an apology for all that they did to her. So the camera's in the car with the characters, and it's just this really intimate moment where it just feels secret. It feels like the audience shouldn't be in the car with them during this moment, yet we are. And they are looking back at each other. It's just this just intense, silent moment where the audience doesn't know what she's gonna do or he's gonna do. Igor doesn't know what's gonna happen. They're just kind of, it's at this standstill. And Annie just straddles him and proceeds to have sex with him as he's sitting in the driver's seat. And she pushes him back, and his chair goes down, and he's just like looking up at her in disbelief. 'Cause I wasn't expecting it, he wasn't expecting it. And she proceeds to have sex with him awkwardly in this car. He's looking up at her, and you can tell he's kind of uncomfortable, but is also very attracted to her. and is not stopping what's happening. And he eventually like raises his hand and tries to kiss her, which, you know, is his natural reaction to connecting with her. And she won't have it and stops him, and there's a struggle as he kind of is trying to kiss her and she's pushing him back. And they're kind of stuck in this moment for which feels like a long time. And then Annie just completely lets go and breaks down and just utterly weeps, like we haven't seen her done at all this whole movie. She lets go all of this emotional weight and just cries loudly in this heartbreaking but beautiful way. And she lowers her head in sadness, and he cradles her head and holds her, and she continues to cry. And the movie fades to black, and that's it. And yeah, I spoke about it earlier, but I had this visceral reaction, and so I think a lot of people in the audience did, in the theater that I saw it. And you know, sometimes a movie could be really good but have a really bad ending and kind of ruin the whole thing. But I think this ending was just perfect because this movie was just a moment in time. And this was not a happy ending. Sean Baker, I applaud him for not giving us this happy ending to this story, because life is not always happy. And yeah, I think the ending of this movie really elevated it to a space that was profound and intimate, that showed us another side of our character that we hadn't seen before. And I think it created empathy for this character. It humanized her, and I thought it was a perfect ending. One of the things I think this final moment is so impactful, is so heartbreaking, is because Annie, who is an expert at making physical connections with men, with other people, is so unable to make an emotional one with Igor in this final moment, which rightfully so. Her profession is putting on this thick exterior, this shell, and performing for people, and disconnecting with her emotional self in order to do the work that she's doing. And it makes so much sense that she can't connect with this person who is being really genuine and kind and honest with her. And I don't think maybe she's ever had somebody be that way to her. I mean, she's 23 years old. And yeah, I just get the feeling that she's never had somebody be that genuine with her, and she doesn't know how to handle it. I mean, Vanya was being kind to her and affectionate, but also kind of distant at the same time. You know, Vanya was not truly seeing Annie for who she was. And I think she felt comfortable there because she wasn't fully exposed emotionally. So she was able to exist in that space and be with him, but he wasn't seeing her. He was playing video games, he was doing drugs. But Igor was deeply looking at her and trying to connect with her, and she was completely disarmed and unable to connect with him. And I think that's at the heart of this movie, is that disconnect. I think it could be really fun to imagine what happens after this final moment. Does she end up with Igor? Does she continue doing the work that she's doing? Does she learn from this traumatizing experience? Is she even more untrusting of people after this? Is she less naive? Does she fall in love with Igor? I just love movies that are open-ended but have meaningful and tangible endings, but doesn't fully tell us what happens to our characters afterwards. It leaves it up for us to be engaged in a way that makes us kind of like an active participant in the movie. Because the experience and the thoughts about the movie are not just happening while the movie's being played. You're taking that with you and you're thinking about those characters after the fact. And that's one of my favorite things about movies, that allows us to think more about these characters, and it makes them more real to me. The fact that they're not so one-dimensional that they just live on the screen. It's that I take them with me and I think about the implications of their life and what it means in the greater context, and think about them as real people. What are they actually doing now? And that's just good writing. And Sean Baker said in an interview himself that he likes to keep his endings open, his movies open-ended, because it allows for other people to have interpretations, and he invites them to project their thoughts and ideas on his characters and his movie. So he's also, I think, more concerned about the larger themes, and kind of leaves some of the details up to us, which is, I think, a great way to structure a movie. I think it's also important here to mention that, Annie is one sex worker. She is, this movie has captured a portrait of just one person having that experience, but there are hundreds of thousands of sex workers with a similar experience, and I'd probably argue even a bleaker experience. If you were to Google the mortality rates of sex workers, I would bet you they would say that sex workers have a high mortality rate, that they often die younger than most people, due to workplace violence, proximity to drugs, access to drugs, unstable living conditions, limited access to health care. All of those things contribute to that mortality rate. And also the fact that it's criminalized and stigmatized and not thought of as a real profession. I love this film. I think it's uniquely powerful. It's well written. It has human, real, raw characters. I think this might be my favorite movie of the year. Up until seeing ANORA, my favorite movie of the year was I Saw the TV Glow by Jane Schoenbrunn, which is another powerful movie about identity that is visually stunning. I love that movie so much. But ANORA really resonated with me and touched me. And I don't know, we'll just have to see. Maybe I'll watch it again and have a different opinion, but I don't think so. ANORA is amazing and has somehow jumped to the top of my list. I highly recommend this film, so go see it and decide for yourself. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps the channel out. I am at the early stages of making videos for this channel, and any support is greatly appreciated. I have an Instagram page where I post a lot of pictures of my physical media collection, and engage with the community in other ways there. Thanks so much for watching, and I really hope to see you in the next video.